Order, if you would, please rise. I'm going to call on Commissioner Griner for the invocation and the pledge.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for all that you do for us each and every day, Lord. Lord, thank you for the first responders and the military that take care of us every day, Lord. And Lord, be with the debris removal people while they're in Lowndes County and help them to do their job safely. And Lord, we just want to thank you for all that you do for us. And just bless this county and keep us all together. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Griner. Do we have any Leadership Lounge folks with us this evening? Leadership Youth as well? That's right. Yeah, we got a good group. I hope y'all are having a good year. You're learning a lot. And we certainly appreciate y'all being involved with those two fine programs. I tell the story, and I'll be real brief. Class of 2007, best class ever. The little world that I lived in, the heating and air conditioning business, that was my world. That's really what I knew. And until I went through Leadership Lounge and realized just really what it takes to make this community what this community is, saw all the different things that goes on, it really broadened my vision about this community, and it really kind of energized me and got me more involved with the community as well. So be careful and be cautious out there, because they'll find a job for you, which is good. So again, we appreciate y'all doing it. Glad that you do it, and we hope that you get a lot out of it. So congratulations. Also, I've got Mr. Ashley Ty, our Emergency Management Director, with us. He's got some special guests tonight as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate y'all giving us the opportunity at the beginning of the meeting. In the audience, we do have several of the volunteer groups that are here supporting our community, helping us in the recovery effort. If y'all would like to go ahead and stand, if you're one of those volunteer groups, you can stand and be recognized while I'm talking. So I've heard you several times brag about the planning and the preparedness and the recovery efforts and everything that's going on. All of those things are accurate, the first responders and what everybody's done. But the community would not be where they are if it weren't for these group of people who have volunteered their time, and most of them aren't from Lowndes County. So they left their communities to come help ours. And so I wanted to take a minute. I have a list here because I know they're not all present. Just wanted to recognize all of those that have been here to help. And if there is anybody that I've overlooked and don't mention, it's a mistake of the head and not the heart. The first one, Georgia VOAD, and a special thanks to Lanita Lloyd, represented the state leadership of Georgia VOAD and Salvation Army. I knew Lanita. She was one of the first emergency managers I met. I consider her a dear friend. She was one of my first mentors. But also she came in, and when I saw her walk in the door, I knew that she took a huge burden off of my plate. And all of this volunteer coordination that's going on, a lot of that is to her credit. She really helped us organize these efforts so that we were more coordinated and being more efficient. So she's not here, but I definitely wanted to mention her. Adventist Church Disaster Services is running our donation center at Mathis City Auditorium. If you haven't gone by and seen that, I would encourage you to stop by if you're around town. To use a biblical reference, they're kind of like the loaves and fishes. They're taking a little bit, but stretching it to help as many people as we can. The American Red Cross, both our local chapter and outside volunteers they brought in have been here. Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they brought in over 600 volunteers this past weekend and are coming back again next weekend. Convoy of Hope, CORE, Crisis Cleanup they've been providing the website that people can go register, and that most of these volunteer groups are using to reach our citizens. Cutter's Edge Enterprises, Friends of Disabled Adults and Children, Georgia Baptist Disaster Relief, God's Pit Crew, the Greater Valdosta United Way, Hearts with Hands, Inspiritus, they're running our volunteer reception center that we had this past weekend, Information Technology Disaster Resource Center, Operation Barbecue Relief, Rebuilding Hope, Samaritan's Purse, Second Harvest Food Bank, Sirens Project, South Georgia Corps, which is part of the Methodist Church, Team Rubicon, the Salvation Army, and World Central Kitchen. And again, that's the list that I have, and if I miss somebody, then I apologize, but all of those groups. And then in addition to those groups, those are the ones that you probably see out working in the neighborhoods. Several of our local churches provided shelter. Park Avenue and Bethany Baptist Church actually provided shelter, working with the Red Cross to our citizens. But a lot of these volunteer groups, when they come in, they need somewhere to stay. Camp Tigert, Francis Lake Baptist Church, Georgia Bible Camp, Morningside Baptist Church, Northside Baptist Church, Redland Baptist Church, and Camp Rock, and the Valdosta Nazarene Church have all provided shelter to a lot of these groups and provided a place for them to stay so they could stay here and work. And again, there may be others, but those are the ones I know about. But I wanted to take time and make sure that these people who came to our community knew how much we appreciated them, how grateful we are for their efforts, and that we couldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for their efforts. So I appreciate you letting me have the
Thank you,
opportunity to
Ashley.
recognize them.
And I couldn't put it really any better than what Ashley has. We owe a deep debt of gratitude to you folks. The citizens of this community does as well for the job that you're doing, have done, and then really the job that's ahead of us, the long-term recovery aspect of this. It's going to take a good bit longer than the initial response and recovery did. We came through this disaster as good as any community could possibly ask for it. It had a tremendous amount, as Ashley said, for the work that you folks were doing out in the tough areas, and doing the hard work, cutting the trees, helping supply these supplies and goods, and taking care of these citizens that were displaced. I think Ashley told me, and I won't have the exact number, but it was somewhere in the 980 home range that we've had that were either significantly damaged or destroyed here in the community. That's a lot of families, and you put numbers to those families, then all of a sudden you are affecting a lot of citizens in this community. And you folks are the ones that's going to make life a little bit better for them. It's still difficult, but you're making it better for them. And I know from my standpoint and from my heart, I thank you. We love y'all for the job that you're doing, and again, just thank y'all for everything you do. We just can't thank you enough, really. So appreciate y'all.
Amen.
All righty, we'll go ahead and get started with our meeting. Agenda item 4A is the minutes for approval. You have your minutes from the work session of August the 21st, as well as your regular session minutes of August the 22nd. Commissioners, if there's no additions, deletions, or corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Agenda item 5A is our one appointment, and this is the Lowndes County Board of Health. Ms. Dukes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. There's a vacant seat on the Board of Health due to Dr. Mark Eanes moving into the District Health Director position, and Dr. Anthony Johnson has expressed a desire to fill the vacant seat.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Dukes? Okay, I'll open the floor up for nominations. I will place Dr. Anthony Johnson in nomination. Are there any others? Hearing none, I'll close the nominations, and Dr. Anthony Johnson will be appointed by acclamation. Agenda item 6A is our first public hearing item, and this is case REZ 2023-04. It is the Chase property located at 6119 Quarterman Road. This involves 18 acres. It is currently EA. The request is for RA, and it will have well and septic. Mr. Dillard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, Commissioners. Again, as discussed during the work session, this is a request from EA to RA along Quarterman Road. You note the zoning pattern here is currently predominantly EA with the exception of the Quarterman Crossing Estate. to the northwest there, which is R21, which was done sometime between 1984 and 87, and was platted in about approximately 2005. The future land use depicts this as a rural service area and agricultural forestry character area. And again, there are some wetlands shown on the property here and throughout Quarterman Crossing and the Quarterman Road area as well. This is 131 properties that staff reviewed that have access to Quarterman Road in a broad consideration of the area. And again, this is a breakdown of some of those acreages you see there with the noted Quarterman Crossing subdivision and its half-acre R21, and then a mixture of 5-acre and larger tracts spread along Quarterman Road. Notice here some of the signatures of petitioners who are in opposition to this request. Again, this is the address location. There are multiple signatures, usually both members of the household or more represented here, but these are the address locations. And again, this is just a mixture when we talk about the change of rural residential versus agricultural based on how it's taxed there. The yellow being taxed residentially, the mint green kind of agricultural tax, and the conservation tax covenants there in the dark green. This is an aerial image of the area, the northern 2/3 of the Quarterman Road area. You note the subdivision on the left, several fields of planted crops, some left in open, undisturbed, natural vegetative state. And then here along the southern portion, again, you see a couple of the parcels outside of Quarterman Road, predominantly used for agricultural, while the interior is primarily residential in its use. Again, this is just a close-up. You'll notice along the western side, houses close to the road there due to the wetlands being in the back, and then the houses getting closer to the road on the eastern side there with the new development, particularly those 2 new lots just north of the subject property. As it stands today in its EA zoning, this is a potential subdivision of the property that meets all county standards. Again, this is by right, so regardless of the rezoning request, this is how the property could be subdivided. This is how it could be subdivided if it was purely zoned for RA. This gives 7 total home sites with a minimum lot width of 150 feet at the building line. And then staff said if an RA was approved with a 210-foot condition, that would shrink the total number of lots to 5, meeting that 210-foot lot build width for these lots. And then if you chose to limit it even further, with an RA and a 210, you could potentially reduce it to 4 total lots. With that being said, the Planning Commission did hear the request, had considerable discussion about it, and ultimately recommended denial of the request 7-1.
Okay, any questions from Mr. Dillard? Thank you, Mr. Dillard. All right, we'll now move into the public hearing portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Gretchen Quarterman. I live at 6565 Quarterman Road. We live at the northern part of the property. When Mr. Dillard talks about 131 properties that have access to the road, he's really talking about 87 that are in the subdivision, and we just like try to ignore those people because the zoning of that is an aberration. And think about the 44 lots that are on our road. If you count each of those lots individually as a lot, my husband and I own 5 of the 44. John's niece owns 3 of them. So that we have, because the road splits the lots. Our area is forestry and conservation. It's agriculture. People grow crops. Farrell Scruggs grows trees. Ian Walker's family grows row crops. They have, I'm not positive how many acres she has, well more than 100. Her sister has 100 acres. Farrell Scruggs owns all of the property across from this potential, and he has 600 acres. And he has all of the frontage on that side of the road. It's just not appropriate to have RA. RA is appropriate in a place where you're going from higher density to this lower density. Say when Macmillan starts to be developed and those go from EA to something, RA would be appropriate there. RA is not appropriate on the little corner way down in the bottom of a road that doesn't go anywhere. The other thing that I'd just like to say is that when Johnny Hamrick died and Helen sold off his lots, all of the lots that she sold, which was most of Hamrick Road, have covenants on them that they cannot be subdivided. So this subdivision really becomes an aberration in our neighborhood, out of character. So please deny this. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Carolyn Selby. My address is 6361 Quarterman Road, and I am in opposition to this rezoning. I moved down here from Atlanta because of the growth and outgrowth of Atlanta, and bought a house on a dirt road, got 6 acres, and it is a rural setting. It's hay fields and planted fields. It's forestry, and it's wetlands. And I do not feel that putting in what would amount to a small subdivision with a possible 5 to 7 additional septic tanks and wells would help this area any. I think it would put a lot more traffic on the road that we don't need. And I think that we need to keep the character of this road. When it was being paved, we fought to keep the canopies on the road because they were so beautiful, and we kept them. And I'm proud to say that all those canopies held up during this hurricane. The character of the road needs to be kept agricultural and with our woodlands and not be developed anymore. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Paris Stoeffler. I live at 5869 Quarterman Road. We only have 5 acres, but like most of us that have 5 acres, we have woodlands all around us on our property. We have gardens, we have our little retreat away from town. When this storm came through, the subdivision up front has a little bit of Quarterman Road before it gets to Hamrick. We had a big tree down in the wires. All of the cars, people from that subdivision are now coming down the long way through Quarterman Road. And y'all, it was like living on a highway in town. Even though those people have access to our road, they do not use our portion of the road. We are down in the woods. We would just really love for y'all to deny this. Even if it's kept 5 acres, that's fine, but the extra people, traffic, noise, it just doesn't go with what's going on the rest of Quarterman Road. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have about 4.5 minutes. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Tom Larson. I live at Quarterman 6245, which is right next to the property you're looking at. And my story is, like the previous speaker, moved from Atlanta, away from the hustle and bustle, and we were looking for more country or rural setting with less traffic and fewer disturbances, because we both work from home. Now, I can relate to my neighbor, and I understand what he's wanting to do, but I do feel in a community where, in a good community, there's gonna be a place and room for everybody. And I think the people that live on Quarterman found that place where they wanna be. If you wanna be in a denser area, there's plenty of opportunities to go somewhere else. I feel like, that's just my opinion. But the nature on Quarterman is very unique and special. And I think the more people that are there, the more disturbed it will be. unintentionally maybe. I think the community that is there have a, maybe a different view on what a neighborhood looks like, but that's our neighborhood out there. And I'm not saying that 5 or 7 extra families is gonna make a huge difference, but it's the slippery slope, because next time somebody else sells a lot, they wanna subdivide that into two acres. And next time it's 1.5 acres, and before you know it, you got a massive subdivision out there. And I think that takes away from what it is people are looking for out there. The people that live there, they're looking for nature and peace and quiet, I think. We do. I can only speak for my family, obviously. So I would say with the current plans, I would recommend that you deny this. I'm not saying nobody should ever subdivide. I think it's fine. But I think with the current plans, you should deny it. That's what was presented tonight. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure. We got about 2 minutes left. If there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition to this request.
Hello, John Quarterman, 6565 Quarterman Road. You'll be pleased that I have to be brief.
Yes, you do.
Indeed. I left you all copies of this, which was inadvertently left out of the board packet. The main point is, as you've heard, there are wetlands on the property, and directly across the road, there's a creek. More building would be more runoff getting into the creek, more contamination. So we don't want that. And as far as leaving things natural, it's not that you just leave a forest and don't touch it. You have to do fire breaks. You have to do prescribed burns. We have one of the few scraps of natural longleaf pine forest in the county. And already, every time we do a prescribed burn, somebody calls the county fire department. I've taken to proactively calling the county fire department. I'm gonna burn. Here's my burn permit number. You don't have to send anybody. So then at least they just send somebody to look instead of sending a whole crew. And the more people, the more that's gonna happen. As far as the subdivision, almost everybody I've talked to in the subdivision, as soon as you say more houses means more traffic, where's the petition? Let me sign it. They don't want it either. So all we're asking is for you to do the same thing you did with Miller Bridge Road, you may recall a year or so ago, and the same thing you did with the Dollar General rezoning on Skipper Bridge. This is the same kind of agricultural conservation forestry area. We ask you to deny this rezoning and keep it the way it is. Thank you.
We have 18 seconds. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? Be quick. All right. If there's none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this request? Anyone that would like to speak in favor? All right. Hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing portion of the meeting. Normally, we would have an opportunity for rebuttal, but since there's nobody that wants to speak in favor, there will be no need for that. So then, Commissioners, I'll turn it back over to you for your consideration.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we follow the recommendations of the Planning Commission to deny the request.
Okay, we have a motion to deny. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor, raise your right hand, please. Okay, it's unanimous. Motion carries, and the request is denied. All right, we'll move down now to case number REZ 2023-10. This is the Copeland property. It's located at 3728 Mount Zion Church Road. This involves 4 acres. It is currently EA, and the request is for R21. Mr. Dillard.
Again, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As stated, the request here for the property is EA to R21. This property was originally zoned R21 back in 2006 when the county rezoned all of the properties, and the property owner at that time requested it be returned to its agricultural state. The property has since changed hands, and the current owner is now requesting it to be zoned R21 to match the adjoining properties that they own. As you see here on the future land use, it is suburban in character, and there are no wetlands to speak of on this property. Again, here's the 3.86 acres as surveyed out. And again, I'm showing here the adjoining property owners by the applicant, totaling approximately 10 acres. requesting R21 zoning, which staff finds compatible with the surrounding land uses, and Planning Commission does recommend approval unanimously, 8-0.
Any questions for Mr. Dillard? Okay, hearing none, we'll move into the public hearing portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to this request? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Roy W. Copeland. I reside at 6 Fox Hollow Circle. This property is important to me. My family has owned it since 1873. We will cause no harm. Seeing that there's no opposition, I have nothing else to say. Thank you for your time.
Okay, I'll ask one more time. Anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this request? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting, and Commissioners, I'll turn it over to you for your consideration.
Mr. Chairman, I motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Unanimous. The motion is approved and the request is approved. We'll now move to agenda item 7A, and this is the Bevel Creek Lift Station. Mr. Stoughton.
Yes, sir. The Bevel Creek Lift Station is one of the primary stations on our trunk line. This is a triplex station with 160 horsepower pumps. We have one of the pumps that is not running. We sent it to Xylem. It was broken down, and the decision was made that it would be more economical to replace the pump with a new one than to repair that one. Xylem is the sole source for flight pumps in Georgia. Staff recommends purchasing a new 160 horsepower pump for $68,889.40 for the Bevel Creek Lift Station from Xylem Incorporated.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Stoughton? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Agenda item 7B is the Hamilton Green acceptance of water and sewer infrastructure. Mr. Stoughton.
Yes, sir. The Hamilton Green subdivision is located on Bemis Road in the Bemis community. Staff has made the final inspections on this project, and all utility work is done and in accordance with county specifications. The lift station on this project will remain private. Staff recommends acceptance of the water and sewer infrastructure for Hamilton Green subdivision, excluding the privately owned lift station.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Stoughton?
Yeah, why is the lift station staying private?
They chose to use a lift station that was more economical for them, and it did not meet county specs, and they wanted to do that and maintain the lift station.
Yeah, but when this lift station fails, and they say, we're gonna walk away from this, what happens then? We had to put in a lift station to fix it, correct?
The lift station that is there should hold up. It's not that it's not a good station, but that was the route that they chose to go with it that was approved.
Mr. Griner, I would think at that point it would not be much different than anything else. We would end up, if they just walk away from it, we would end up having to assume it.
So shouldn't we have made them put in the lift to our requirements now?
Question?
So we could accept it, and then it would be our responsibility?
Good question.
They do accept responsibility for the station and everything.
Okay, that's all I needed.
Any other questions? Okay. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we not approve the water and sewer infrastructure for Hamilton Green.
So we have a motion to not accept.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a second. Any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. All opposed signify by raising your right hand. Okay, it's a tie vote. I vote in opposition to the motion. So the motion carries, or the
Motion is denied.
Hamilton Green is accepted.
We don't need a motion to
Okay.
accept
We
it?
do,
Gotta
I'm
vote
sorry, we
again.
do. We need another motion, a motion to approve if that be the desire.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second. All right, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. Any opposed signify by raising your right hand. You know, we could have saved a little bit of time. I was moving it along pretty good. Okay, I vote to support the motion to approve. All right, we'll move on to agenda item 7C, and this is the meter backflow device purchases. Mr. Stoughton.
Yes, sir. As part of the Lowndes County mass meter change-out, several of our backflows will be replaced. Additionally, we use these on each new install. Consolidated Pipe recently acquired a surplus stock of the residential backflows, and they offered us a discount price of $35 per unit on a 3,000 lot purchase. This is less than half of what our normal purchase price is. Staff recommends purchasing the 3,000 backflow devices from Consolidated Pipe for $105,000.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Stoughton? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve the purchase. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion is approved. Agenda item 7D is the annual contract renewal with VSU for the mosquito identification and testing. Again, I did it. Ms. Cumbus.
Yes, this is an annual contract renewal, which includes trapping, identifying, and testing as part of our program.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Cumbus?
Just one, do we ever post those results or any of those findings?
We do if there's a problem, if they find anything, but we don't post them. We keep files on them with all the weekly testings.
And I guess if a citizen would like to see some of those findings, they just put in an open records request?
They would go to the Department of Health. They're actually the ones who manage that information after the testing is done.
Any other questions? Okay. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 8A is the LAS expansion, clearing, and grubbing. Mr. Stoughton.
Yes, sir. Due to growth and increased flow, Lowndes County is working with the Georgia Environmental Protection Division and Carter and Sloop to expand our land application site. Phase 1 of this project would include the clearing and grubbing of approximately 88 acres. Staff advertised the project and received 5 bids. They range from about $288,000 to about $560,000. KDUG Corporation out of Patterson, Georgia was the low bidder. Staff recommends approval and authorize the chairman to sign the contract with KDUG Corporation for $287,736.39.
Any questions for Mr. Stoughton?
Mr. Stalvey, yesterday, Scotty asked you a question. We're going from 2 million gallons a day to 3 million gallons a day.
Yes, sir.
Actually, how long do you think it's going to take for us to get to 3 million gallons a day?
So this is phase 1 of this project. At our current rate, we could get to 3 million probably in another 3 to 5 years. We are continuing on. This is phase 1 of this expansion. We are looking to go to a potential 4.2 million gallons at the LAS.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Will that number max out, this LAS?
There may still be some potential. This was the most desirable. The 4.2 to 4.5 million would be the most desirable. soils to do that on, but that would not take up the whole 1,000 acres.
Commissioners, one of the things that we're working on, a plan and a presentation for you all for our spring retreat would be a more traditional wastewater treatment plant. The continued expansion of the LAS is important because that gives us some built-in redundancy there and also gives us some option as far as serving future industry, depending on what sort of wastewater we would want to send in which direction. But we are quickly outgrowing the concept of a land application site, so we are working on some preliminary wastewater treatment plant plans that we'll be bringing to you all in the spring.
And that plant, a future plant, would discharge into a stream or a river?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 9, County Manager's Report. Ms. Dukes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This past Saturday, even after a very long week and a half, our employees participated in the 911 Memorial 5K that is sponsored by the Valdosta Fire Department. Not only did we have the largest group of public safety there with Lowndes County Fire Rescue, but we also had the largest group of walkers or runners that were from any particular organization, because many of our other departments participated as well. And I can't think of anything that speaks to the resiliency or the commitment to each other and this community of our folks after many of them working practically around the clock for a week and a half to come out Saturday and spend some time with that walk. So thank you for everyone. Chief Young, Ms. Davis actually ran, our 911 director. She was a part of that, and we had other departments that were there as well. So thank you all for that. The chairman and I met with our GDOT Commissioner, Russell McMurray, today and received an update on the Old Quitman Road Bridge. Commissioner Weisenbaker, it's not good news, but the commissioner is doing everything that he can. Right now, we're looking at a longest lead time of sometime in 2025. But it is still very much held up with the railroad. But GDOT is leaning very hard on the railroad to be able to move that project forward. So that was one of our main topics of conversation, along with maintenance along Bemis Road. So our district engineer is working with engineering to take a look at our current maintenance contract with GDOT to see what we can do to help Bemis Road look a little cleaner and get a little more of that shoulder maintenance off of Public Works and back onto the state. We have our TIA 2 presentations tomorrow at 10 a.m. in Nashville. The chairman, as well as myself and staff, will be a part of that presentation. At 10 a.m. on Thursday, there's a press conference at Bald Adventures on their tourism focus for the holidays. On Thursday at 6 p.m., we have a Partnership for Health Gala, so we have a table there for dinner for any of you that would like to attend that. On Friday, we are hosting Leadership Lounge for their annual board retreat. And then on Saturday at 9:30, we will have staff in the fire department participating again in the South Georgia Buddy Walk, which is an awareness initiative for Down syndrome, and that is at Unity Park at 9:30. And before I go into our Idalia update and turn things over to Ashley, Commissioner Evans had a birthday on Thursday of last week. The chairman's birthday is tomorrow, and Commissioner Griner's birthday is on Sunday. So happy birthday to you all.
Thank you.
Moving forward with Idalia, Ashley's going to give us an update here in just a second on where we are specifically. But I thought that you all needed to know really what we had done the last couple weeks, in addition to the updates that I've been giving you. You know, whenever our community faced its worst, and our staff as a whole, some of the hardest work that they have ever had to do in a very short amount of time, not only did we see our community at their best, but we saw our staff at their best as well. So I want to kind of give you an update on not just the regular things that you know that they were working on, because they traditionally do, but some of the outstanding things that they chipped in to support Ashley through the efforts there and take care of the community. So Public Works never stood down during the storm. When the power went out on I-75, or the power lines went down on I-75, and the state was not here to take care of that, the sheriff stepped in from a security standpoint, and the public works employees, I'm not sure if they were holding on to the road signs or the road signs were holding on to them, but in those very high winds, they were deploying digital signage on the side of I-75 to try to help shut down the interstate. And they also did the same on Highway 84 and 41. But they were clearing roads on the south end of Lowndes County while we had tropical storm force winds still blowing in the north end of the county. And that participation, along with the fire department and the help from the sheriff's office, is why by Saturday night, we had every road in Lowndes County that could be cleared. If there was a road in the unincorporated area that was not passable, it's because there were utility and or power lines that were in those trees, and they had to wait on the utility companies to be able to come in. By Monday, we were grading roads. And to realize that we got hit with a hurricane and we have as many miles of dirt road as we did, and the tremendous damage, the wind, the rain, the runoff, all of those things, it just speaks so much, Robin, to you and your department for what they did. So thank you so much for that. Similarly, utilities. Steve came to me before the wind came through and said, I just want to let you know that if we have the power outages that we are expecting, there's a good chance, because we're dependent on generator power for those lift stations, that we could have backup into a home or business. He said, we're going to do everything that we can do to keep that from happening. He said, but I just want you to realize that if the power outages are significant, that's a possibility. We may have a generator fail or not be able to get there in time to get it turned on. And we had 0 spills or backups. And that's because Steve's people worked around the clock. Even through Sunday, whenever I was able to let Public Works off, Steve's folks with utilities worked and not only maintained our service area in the unincorporated area, but also their responsibilities at Moody. And thank you for that, Steve. It was tremendous. Engineering maintained a tremendous support role in the Emergency Operations Center. They staged throughout the county. They also helped with our FEMA evaluation, as well as assisting Public Works with debris removal, and Chad's responsibility and that of his team are ongoing there. Code enforcement, Mindy came in with code enforcement and permits and inspections, and I have to say that permits and inspections was the team that we didn't know that we needed, that were of a tremendous value as we moved through, and they worked with code enforcement. Mindy managed all of our phones and coordinated the volunteers to come in and answer those phones. Code enforcement and permits and inspections also assisted with the FEMA evaluations, and then also our points of distribution that we had set up for the county, the one in Clyateville. Those guys, when volunteers didn't show up, went down and helped hand out tarps and water and handled all of that. And then very quickly, they worked with Stephanie and her team to set up a licensing verification program so that we could get ahead of some of the out-of-town contractors that were coming in to make sure that they were legitimate. And that was something that we also worked with the insurance commissioner's office on, and we had that up and running before the end of the week. Probation came in and answered the phone. Planning and zoning came in and answered the phones. Animal services also staged throughout the county while also helping manage the shelter operations and donations. Public information worked to manage 300 interviews in just 48 hours. And by Monday of last week, our social media views had exceeded 1 million. So they certainly had a large reach there. Megan worked very closely with the public information team at the city of Valdosta, and there was tremendous coordination there. And if I had to hand public information off to anyone when my job changed, I definitely handed it off to people a lot better and smarter than me, and that was very evident in their response there. They did a fantastic job. Finance worked with Ashley very early on to establish our accounts and to support the ongoing response and recovery. Those funds, because of the FEMA reimbursement, don't need to be commingled with our regular budget numbers. And so right now, I think we've got a $2.6 million PO out just for debris removal so that we can start to pay the debris removal contractor. So that's like managing a separate department and an event within the disaster. And Stephanie and her folks are doing fantastic jobs there. 911. They did what they always do. They were solid. They worked out of the EOC. They managed our traffic on the roads, and then also gave everyone a heads up on what we needed to communicate on next and what we could expect because of the information that was coming in there. Community Development supported the Public Information Officer function. IT supported the technology in the EOC, and then also assisted with tower repairs. We had an entire tower in Clyattville go down that Aaron and his team managed to get rebuilt before we all came back to work and replaced. The county clerk's office managed the citizen inquiries and helped with the phones in the EOC as well. Fire cleared roads, provided mutual aid. We loaned out several crews and trucks to other agencies through the disaster, which means that Chief Young and his team were able to take care of themselves and what we needed to, and have folks and equipment there to spare. There was also a tremendous uptick in medical calls that they helped EMS manage. HR was able to get our payroll process before the storm hit because we felt like that there was going to be an issue, and that decision paid off 1,000 times over. As our employees were out working, we didn't have to worry about them being worried about being paid. They also assisted with gathering all of the FEMA information that we needed early on and came into the EOC to help with the phones. And they have a pretty big job this week with payroll and managing all of the overtime and the additional hours that have to be paid correctly for us to be able to apply for reimbursement there. Very early on, all of the departments worked to get the numbers in that Ashley needed for our public assistance numbers. And then after that, many of them said, you know, we're not going home until we know that every road, street, and bridge in this community has been seen by FEMA and that the numbers are counted so that we can get the public assistance. And we found out Thursday night that their efforts paid off in a tremendous way whenever that declaration was made. So thank you all for your support. You all putting the policies in place and allowing us to do our jobs and providing the resources that you do are our why, along with our fantastic team, the cooperation of our citizens and these volunteers that showed up, or why, as the chairman said earlier, we are where we are. And so we're very grateful for that. Thank you for that. I think we all hope that we never have to go through this again, but we have learned a lot in the process, and I have no doubt that not only would we manage it again well, but we would manage it even better than we did this time. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Ashley and let him tell us where, under his fantastic leadership, we are headed now with our recovery.
So as Paige mentioned, I like to tell people that the declaration started the second phase of the disaster. It was the second disaster, whenever FEMA comes in. But where we are right now, from the public assistance process, and I'll break it into public and the individual. So from us, still working with our county staff, as well as each of the cities, both of the school districts, Parks and Rec, the technical college, and VSU, to start moving through the public assistance process. The first step is we have sent our request for public assistance into FEMA, which is basically raising your hand and says, hey, we're gonna have some damages to submit. The public assistance process is gonna be, I think I would be safe to say that it's starting today, and probably this time next year, we will still be filling out project worksheets and doing the documentation. So it's gonna be a lengthy process to get all that reimbursement, but we're gonna fight hard and find every nickel and dime that we're eligible for, and working with GEMA and FEMA to try and get as much of that back, so that our local citizens don't have to bear all the burden of that expense. The individual assistance is really the main thing. Public assistance, we felt solid that we were gonna have the numbers. Individual assistance is a little different story. So we did get a declaration for individual assistance. One thing that, you know, I've had 50 phone calls today, and I bet you 40 of them were, where's FEMA? Where can I go see FEMA? And FEMA does not have a physical location set up in Lowndes County right now. The information I've got, we hope to, maybe by the weekend, they will have come in and establish a location where citizens can go sit down and talk to an actual human being. But for now, we're directing people to the 1-800 number, or if they're computer savvy, there's a website. They can go log in on the FEMA's website and go ahead and register for that. Financial assistance is available to the individuals. And what that assistance is, you know, we really don't have that information. So if anybody asks you if they had any damage or would like to file a claim, have them file a claim with FEMA. They vet all that, and they can provide them the information. But again, there was close to 1,000 individuals that the chairman has mentioned with major or destroyed damage to their homes. So it's gonna take them a long time to process all of those claims. Just like FEMA. FEMA is what everybody's worried about, but even if they don't qualify for FEMA assistance, or if they do, they're also eligible to apply with the Small Business Administration. Everybody thinks, well, it says business, but individuals can still apply for those low-interest loans because a lot of people, their insurance and the FEMA assistance is not enough to fully cover the damages and losses they experienced. So sometimes people can actually come out ahead of the game by, refinancing or financing their damages with a much lower interest rate loan than what you and I could go get right now if we were going to a traditional bank. SBA did set up, starting today, they set up at the Chamber of Commerce at 12. They'll be running from 9 to 6, Monday through Saturday. So the only day they won't be in operation will be on Sundays, and that's until the foreseeable future, until they decide to shut it down. I think they realized they quickly were overwhelmed at that location, so we are working with them to move them possibly to the Civic Center. We have not finalized that yet, so when that becomes final, we will push that out to the citizens. Another source of assistance that they can receive is through the American Red Cross. Again, if they qualify for FEMA assistance, they're most likely gonna also qualify for Red Cross. Again, looking to help those that have the most severe damage, those homes that have major structural damage or destroyed and are unlivable. Red Cross will have a website set up beginning tomorrow. I think it's redcross.org/Adalia. And so citizens can register there, and that will allow them to make an appointment and go sit down and meet with a Red Cross representative who can walk them through the intake process and find out what exactly resources are available. Working with the Salvation Army they have some resources available. So if you have some citizens that have some housing issues, they're welcome to get in touch with me at the Emergency Management Office, and I can help refer them to a caseworker with the Salvation Army who may potentially have some relief that we can pass on there. So there's several different avenues, and basically I would encourage, if somebody asks you, I would just encourage them to, if there's a question, to apply. I would rather that FEMA tell them no, or Red Cross or some other group tell them, no, I'm sorry, you don't qualify, than one of us to make that decision. I would never want somebody to miss out on something because we were misinformed or gave them bad information. So they can apply for all of those. Like I said, we're still working with FEMA. We'll have a applicants briefing, and they'll have one for our area in Adel on Thursday morning. We just received that notice. So that's where we'll go and get more information on what that public assistance process is going to look like. I know we're working, probably the biggest thing is everybody wants to know about the debris cleanup. Robin and Chad are working closely with our debris contractor that we had pre-identified several years ago, and y'all had the foresight to allow us to have those contracts in place so that we could hit the ground. And I think by Tuesday, after the storm, they already had trucks here picking stuff up. But the estimates that I've been given, it's probably 2 months realistically before all the debris is picked up. Once we get around, and we'll continue to push that information out. But we've never seen this amount of debris on the ground to be picked up. So it just logistically, it's going to take a while to get to everywhere. So if your citizens ask you, when are they coming to get mine? Don't know what day. I can promise you they're coming to get it. And we won't stop, and we won't send the contractors home until we've picked up all of the storm-related debris. So with that, I think that's all I can think of right now. But I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have about how the process is going.
Has the SBA opened up in the chamber?
Yes, sir. They opened today at 12 o'clock, and by 12:30 they were overwhelmed.
Really?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I didn't have any question pertaining to the storm, but I just had a comment, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to thank him for everything he's done, as well as the county manager. as you all know, when you're elected official, you depend on what your staff is telling you. They're the boots on the ground. And to get the kind of communication that we received each day, from Paige or through Ashley was just phenomenal because, residents call you and you don't know really what to say. You're trying to take care of your stuff, your family, and everything else. But I really appreciate the communication. And I'll be the first to tell you that even when I saw some of the county staff out and about, they had smiles on their face. The morale was up and through the roof. I mean, you can't put a price on it. So I just want to say kudos to county staff all the way across the board. Thanks to all the volunteer groups that you had come out, and even the ones that were helping feeding people. I believe Big Nick, Nick Hardy, and what's the other guy named Ambex. They little small donations. Everybody that played a part in it. I really just appreciate it. Kudos to y'all all the way around. That's all I want to add.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other? Ashley, thank you again. I can't add much to it, other than, as I've said, the opportunity and the hard work that you've not only put in this event, but the hard work that you have done to have us prepared for this event. That's a lot of what you do every day of the week, working with these agencies, working with the cities in our community, along with local government, to try to get everybody in a position so that in the event that we have what we have, we're in a good place and we're prepared for it. I think I may have made a comment at one point. We were prepared. I'm not sure that we were prepared to be knocked down on our knees as far as we were. But the fact that we were able to get back up and get back up quickly is a testament to your programs, your planning, your pleading a lot of times with different folks, and how smooth it went. Now, I know you were paddling like a duck. I mean, just trying to get it all done, but I'd ask Ashley all the time. I said, "You okay?" "Yes, we're good. We're getting it covered." But he was paddling hard. There's no doubt about it. But the fact that we were able to recover from the initial event as quickly as Paige's timeline showed us, that's a testament to that planning. And it paid huge dividends for our community. So again, that's kudos to you. That is on you. You own it, and something proud for you to carry around because you did a fantastic job.
That's true. And Ashley, I want to thank you because I call you about 10 times a day, and you return the calls right back, and I really appreciated that.
You told me she's only calling you 5 times a day. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
So again, Ashley, thank you. I also want to add, and I feel compelled to do this. This team worked as good as it worked because of the management that it has. Paige was in the middle of it. I guarantee you, she was, every time I'd talk to her, she would be updating me about something. She was at the EOC. I'm not sure that for the first 2 or 3 days she even left.
Oh, I went home. Ashley didn't go home, but I went
Yeah,
home.
but I'm sure as soon as she got home, could get her a hot shower, get a couple hours sleep, she was back up there.
Busy.
But it was her communication with her staff, encouraging them, keeping them motivated, keeping them focused on the issues that had to be done. So, Paige, thank you for a fantastic job as well.
Thank you. I have to say, Mr. Chairman, we have a tremendous team, and I told several people this, but if I ever got tired, I just went and found our people. And when you see how hard they're working, and to Commissioner Marshall's point that they don't let it bother them, and their attitude is just as good when they come to work as it is in the afternoon, and they've had one heck of a day. It's real hard to be tired whenever you're inspired by those kind of people.
That's right.
And we have a tremendous, tremendous team in all of our employees.
Yep. All right. There's no other business, no other comments. Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.